Imagine holding a small coin that could be worth thousands, even millions of dollars. From the rarest penny to the most sought-after dollar and the legendary silver 50 cent. These are the treasures collectors dream about. Stay tuned, because you might just discover that fortune could be hiding in your own pocket change as we reveal the top 15 most valuable Australian coins. But let's moving on with number 15, 1982 Australian 50 cent coin. The year 1982 marked a special chapter in Australian numismatic history with the release of the commemorative 50 cent coin. Unlike the regular issues of the time, this particular coin was produced to celebrate the Commonwealth Games, which were held in Brisbane that year. The reverse design features a ring of human figures symbolizing unity and international participation, an artistic representation of sport and camaraderie that truly captured the spirit of the games. The obverse, as expected, carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machine, one of the most recognized effigies in Commonwealth coinage. What makes this coin especially appealing to collectors is not only the commemorative design, but also the fact that it was the very first commemorative 50 cent coin in Australia's decimal currency series. Millions were struck for circulation, which means they are relatively easy to find in lower grades. But in pristine uncirculated condition or as proofs, their desirability and value increase significantly. The coin is composed of copper and nickel, weighing 15.55 grams with its distinct dodecagonal 12-sided shape, making it stand out compared to other circulating coins. Collectors today often treasure this coin as a key piece from the early era of Australian commemorative issues, and its market price in high uncirculated grades can reach around 25,000 to 35,000 Australian dollars, with proof examples in official mint packaging fetching even higher premiums. Number 14, 1966 Australian 10 cent coin. When decimal currency was introduced in Australia on the 14th of February, it was one of the most significant financial transitions in the country's modern history. Among the very first coins released that day was the 10 cent coin, which continues to circulate to this very day with its original design. The reverse artwork was created by Stuart Devlin, the official goldsmith and jeweler to the Queen, who was entrusted with designing the entire first suite of decimal coins. For the 10 cent piece, Devlin chose the male lyrebird, an iconic Australian species known for its extraordinary ability to mimic sounds in nature. The depiction is striking, with the bird proudly displaying its ornate tail feathers in fine detail, capturing both artistry and national symbolism. The obverse of the 1966 issue features the portrait of a young Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machine, as this was her reigning effigy at the time. These coins were struck in large numbers to ensure smooth circulation during the decimal changeover, and they were produced from copper-nickel alloy, weighing 5.65 grams, with a diameter of 2360 millimeters. While millions exist, the 1966 10 cent coin carries historical significance as the very first year of issue, making it a favorite among collectors. Its condition heavily influences value, with circulated examples being common but high-grade, uncirculated coins commanding stronger interest. In superb uncirculated condition, the 1966 Australian 10 cent coin can sell for around 42,000 to 43,000 Australian dollars, with brilliant uncirculated mint rolls and specially preserved examples commanding even higher premiums among dedicated decimal collectors. Number 13, 1970 Australian 50 cent coin. The year 1970 gave Australia one of its most iconic decimal commemorative coins, the Captain Cook bicentenary 50 cent. This coin was issued to mark the 200th anniversary of Captain James Cook's arrival on the east coast of Australia in 1770, a pivotal moment in the nation's colonial history. The reverse design was created by Stuart Devlin and is one of the most detailed works in Australian coinage, showing a map of Australia with Cook's ship, the Endeavour, sailing across. Surrounding the image are navigational lines that symbolize exploration, discovery, and the journey that led to Australia's place in the wider world. The obverse features the machine portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, as was standard for the time, Struck in copper nickel and retaining the now familiar dodecagonal 12-sided shape introduced after the 1966 round silver 50-cent was withdrawn. The 1970 issue was both widely circulated and collected. What elevates this coin's appeal is not only its design, but also its place as a historical commemoration of Australia's European discovery narrative. Millions were minted, yet high-grade examples remain especially desirable among collectors because many of the coins entered circulation and were heavily used. Collectors particularly seek out uncirculated or proof-quality coins, which often appear in specially issued mint sets from 1970. Today, a high-grade uncirculated example of the 1970 Captain Cook Bicentenary 50-cent coin typically fetches around 45,000 to 55,000 Australian dollars, while proof coins in official packaging can command even more, making this coin one of the most treasured commemorative decimal issues from the early 1970s. Number 12, 957 Australian 1 penny. The Australian penny has always held a special place in the nation's numismatic story, and by the late 1950s, it was nearing the end of its era. The 1957 Australian 1 penny is a coin that may seem fairly common at first glance, but its charm and historical importance cannot be overlooked. Struck in bronze, weighing 945 grams, and measuring 30.8 millimeters in diameter, this coin features the distinctive kangaroo design on the reverse, created by George Kruger Gray. The kangaroo had been adopted for the penny in 1938, and remained until the denomination was phased out in 1964, giving Australians an instantly recognizable national emblem in their pocket change. The obverse of the 1957 penny shows the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Mary Gillick, marking the first effigy of her reign. This young portrait of the Queen, without a crown, was used on Australian coins from 1953 through 1964 and is beloved by collectors for its elegance and freshness. By 1957, post-war Australia was modernizing rapidly, and coins from this period reflect a nation finding its place in the mid-20th century. Large mintages were struck, so circulated examples remain easy to find. Yet collectors still actively seek uncirculated specimens with original mint red luster. These are much scarcer, as most coins entered circulation and saw heavy handling. A top-grade uncirculated 1957 Australian penny with full red surfaces can fetch around 5,000 to 6,000 Australian dollars at market, while standard circulated examples are worth only a small fraction of that. For collectors, the value lies not only in the metal, but in preserving a coin that represents the final flourishing years of the iconic kangaroo penny before decimalization swept them away. Number 11, 1925 Australian 1 penny. Among the legendary coins in the Australian penny series, the 1925 issue stands out as one of the true key dates that collectors dream of owning. Unlike more common pennies of the 1940s and 1950s, the 1925 penny had a comparatively low mintage of just over 1.1 million pieces, which is considered scarce by Australian standards. On the reverse, the design by W.H.J. Blakemore presents the simple yet classic Commonwealth of Australia inscription with the word 1 penny boldly centered, framed by a beaded inner circle and decorative flourishes. This design, first introduced in 1911, carried the regal and dignified look of early Australian copper coinage. The obverse features the portrait of King George V, designed by Sir Edgar Bertram McKennell, depicting the king in his crowned and robed bust facing left. What makes the 1925 penny especially significant is its survival rate. While over 1 million were struck, relatively few high-grade examples survived due to heavy circulation during the interwar years. Many coins were worn down almost completely, and finding sharp, well-struck examples is a true challenge. This scarcity has elevated the IM 1925 penny into one of the most collectible coins in Australian numismatics, often ranking just behind the elusive 1930 penny in desirability. Today, values reflect this demand. Circulated examples may sell for 50 to 100 Australian dollars, but in higher grades the price rises dramatically. A well-preserved uncirculated 1925 penny with strong details can reach 65,000 to 7,000 Australian dollars on the market, making it one of the most valuable and coveted dates in the series. For many collectors, acquiring the 1925 penny is considered an essential milestone in completing a set of pre-decimal Australian pennies. Number 10, 1972 Australian 5-cent coin. Though small in size, the 1972 Australian 5-cent coin is a giant in terms of rarity and collector interest within the decimal series. When decimal currency was introduced in 1966, the 5-cent coin took the place of the old sixpence, retaining roughly the same size and composition. Its reverse design, created by Stuart Devlin, depicts the spiny echidna, one of Australia's most unique and endearing native animals. The obverse features the Arnold Machin portrait of Queen Elizabeth, so for most years of issue, the 5-cent coin has been struck in huge quantities for circulation, but 1972 was an exception. Only about 8.3 million coins were produced that year, the lowest mintage of any circulation 5-cent coin in the series. This relatively small mintage has made it a standout rarity, particularly because most of the coins that were struck entered circulation and became heavily worn over the decades. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for high-grade survivors, and these can be very challenging to locate. Many 1972 5-cent coins found today are in well-worn circulated condition, while uncirculated coins are highly prized. This scarcity has translated into strong market values. Circulated examples carry a modest premium, but a 1972 Australian 5-cent coin in mint state condition can easily fetch 75,000 to 8,000 Australian dollars, with superbly preserved, brilliant uncirculated coins going for even more. For decimal collectors, this coin is often considered the crown jewel of the 5-cent series, and owning one is both a point of pride and a mark of accomplishment in assembling a complete decimal collection. Number 9, 1973 Australian 10-cent coin.
The Australian
10-cent coin of 1973 is a fascinating piece that may look quite ordinary to the untrained eye. But to dedicated collectors, it represents one of the scarcer dates in the decimal series. By the early 1970s, decimal coinage had firmly established itself, replacing the old pounds, shillings, and pence system. The 10-cent coin, designed by Stuart Devlin, features the male lyrebird proudly displaying its elaborate tail feathers, an instantly recognizable design that has endured unchanged since 1966. The obverse for the 1973 issue carries Arnold Machin's portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the second effigy of her reign, and one of the most widely used images of the Queen across the Commonwealth. What makes the 1973 10-cent coin stand out is its relatively low mintage of just over 36 million pieces, which is significantly lower than surrounding years that often saw double or even triple that figure. While millions might sound like a lot, the reality is that most were heavily circulated, leaving few pristine survivors. Collectors today often find it difficult to secure a sharply struck, uncirculated coin from this year, which has elevated its demand considerably. The coin is composed of copper nickel, weighing 5.65 grams, with a diameter of 2360 millimeters, the same specification still in use today. In circulated condition, the 1973 10-cent coin is worth only a small premium, but in high mint state grades, values climb steeply. An uncirculated example can fetch around 4,000 to 47,000 Australian dollars, while superb gem coins with brilliant surfaces can command even more at auction. For those assembling a complete run of decimal 10-cent coins, the 1973 issue is often one of the trickiest to track down in top quality, making it a prized addition to any collection. Number 8, 1927 Australian 1 shilling. The 1927 Australian shilling is a coin that captures the spirit of the interwar years while also standing out as one of the scarcer dates in the shilling series. Struck in sterling silver with a fineness of 925, weighing 5.65 grams and measuring 23.5 millimeters in diameter, the 1927 issue was produced during the reign of King George V. The obverse features the portrait of the king by Bertram McKennell, showing him crowned and robed facing left. The reverse carries the iconic coat of arms of Australia, with the kangaroo and emu standing proudly on either side of a shield, topped with the 7-pointed Commonwealth star. Beneath the design sits the motto, "Advance Australia," a patriotic call that resonated strongly during the 1920s. What sets the 1927 shilling apart is its relatively low mintage of just over 2.1 million coins, which is modest compared to more common dates. These coins were heavily circulated at the time, with Australia relying on silver coins for much of its everyday commerce. As a result, many 1927 shillings are encountered today in worn condition, with details on the coat of arms often flattened from years of use. Finding an example with strong detail and minimal wear is far more challenging, and such pieces are highly sought after by collectors. In circulated grades, the 1927 shilling may fetch 20 to 50 Australian dollars, but in top-grade uncirculated condition, values can soar to 7,000 to 8,000 Australian dollars, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. This makes the 1927 shilling a must-have for serious collectors of pre-decimal silver coinage, representing both rarity and historical significance. Number 7. 1924 Australian 1 shilling. Even scarcer than the 1927 issue, the 1924 Australian shilling is widely regarded as one of the true key dates of the George V shilling series. Struck in sterling silver 925. This coin also weighs 5.65 grams and measures 23.5 millimeters in diameter, conforming to the standard specifications of the denomination. The obverse carries Bertram McKennell's classic crowned bust of King George V, while the reverse again features the familiar coat of arms of Australia, with the kangaroo and emu flanking the shield. The difference lies in the rarity of the date itself. Only around 120,000 coins were minted in 1924, making it one of the lowest mintage circulation shillings in Australian history. This figure is dramatically lower than most other dates in the series, which often numbered in the millions. As a result, the 1924 shilling has earned a reputation as one of the big three rarities of the series, alongside the 1915 H and the 1933 shillings. Surviving examples are notoriously difficult to source, especially in higher grades. Most of the coins struck in 1924 were put into active use, and by the time collectors began recognizing its scarcity, very few well-preserved examples remained. Today, circulated coins are valuable in their own right, often trading for 200 to 400 Australian dollars depending on where. However, in top uncirculated grades, the 1924 shilling becomes truly elite, with values ranging from 25,000 to 15,000 Australian dollars at market, and exceptional specimens have even commanded higher premiums at auction. Owning a 1924 shilling is considered a milestone achievement in Australian pre-decimal collecting, a coin that embodies both rarity and prestige in equal measure. Number 6. 1927 Australian 1 florin. The 1927 Australian florin is not just a coin. It is a piece of history that reflects one of the most significant national events of the 20th century, the opening of the original Parliament House in Canberra. Struck in sterling silver with a composition of 925, weighing 11.31 grams and measuring 28.5 millimeters in diameter, this coin was Australia's very first commemorative issue. The obverse features Bertram McKennell's crowned bust of King George III, a familiar portrait to Australians at the time. The reverse, however, is what makes the 1927 florin so remarkable. Designed by George Kruger Gray, the artwork shows the facade of Parliament House in Canberra, framed by ornate flourishes and the inscription, Parliament House Australia with the year below. Unlike regular circulation florins that bore the national coat of arms, this design was strikingly unique and symbolic. The issue had a mintage of around 2 million coins, which sounds plentiful, but most of these circulated heavily, as silver coins were central to everyday commerce. As a result, finding well-preserved examples is a challenge. Many show wear, with details of the Parliament House and surrounding decorations smoothed away. Collectors today prize coins with sharp detail and original luster, especially those in uncirculated or proof condition. This coin's importance as Australia's first commemorative makes it a cornerstone in any serious collection of pre-decimal coins. In circulated grades, the 1927 florin is worth between 40 and 80 Australian dollars, but high-grade uncirculated examples fetch anywhere from 15,000 to 15,500 Australian dollars. Proof examples, which were struck in very limited numbers for collectors, can reach staggering prices of 17,000 to 18,000 Australian dollars, making them some of the most desirable pieces in Australian numismatics. Number 5, 2000 Australian $1 coin. The year 2000 gave Australia one of its most famous and controversial coin rarities, the mule-era $1 coin. To mark the dawn of the new millennium, the Royal Australian Mint struck millions of $1 coins with the familiar kangaroo, reverse design by Stuart Devlin. However, in an extraordinary minting error, a small number of coins were accidentally struck using the obverse die intended for the 10-cent coin instead of the standard dollar obverse. The result was a coin with the $1 kangaroo design on one side, but a smaller, mismatched portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the other. Collectors quickly dubbed it the 2000 mule dollar. This error occurred because the obverse die from the 10-cent coin was slightly smaller in diameter than the dollar coin plancher, creating a double rim or noticeable raised border effect around the Queen's portrait. To a sharp-eyed collector, this error is instantly identifiable, and it transformed what should have been a regular, modern coin into one of the most legendary rarities of the decimal era. Estimates suggest that only a few thousand of these mule dollars exist, most having been released into circulation before the error was discovered. Today, the 2000 mule dollar is a coveted prize for collectors, often selling for extraordinary amounts when found in good condition. Circulated examples can bring 1,000 to 2,000 Australian dollars, while high-grade uncirculated examples have reached 14,000 to 16,000 Australian dollars at auction. This coin has also captured public imagination because it is a rarity that can still occasionally be found in circulation, making it one of the few Australian modern coins that continues to spark treasure hunts among everyday people. Number 4, 2007 Australian double-head $1 coin. The 2007 Australian $1 coin, known as the double head or double obverse error, is one of the most intriguing modern minting mistakes ever released. This coin is the product of an extraordinary mint error in which both dies used to strike the coin were obverse dies, meaning that instead of a reverse design with kangaroos, both sides of the coin feature the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. To hold one in your hand is to see a coin with two identical sides, something that should never have existed under normal minting conditions. The coin was produced at the Royal Australian Mint, and while such errors are rare, a small batch somehow escaped quality control and entered circulation. Unlike many mint errors that go unnoticed, the double-head dollar immediately captured widespread public interest because of its sheer novelty and unmistakable mistake. The coin weighs 9 grams and is composed of aluminum bronze, like all standard $1 coins, but it stands apart because of its unique misstriking. Collectors view the double-head dollar as one of the top modern rarities in Australia's decimal series. Its value has consistently risen as demand far outweighs supply. Most of the known examples were found in circulation, meaning many show some degree of wear. Nevertheless, even circulated examples typically sell for 1,000 to 500 Australian dollars, while high-grade uncirculated specimens can achieve 5,000 to 25,000 Australian dollars at auction. For collectors of Australian decimal currency, the 2007 double-head $1 coin is both a conversation piece and a genuine numismatic rarity, a reminder that even in the age of modern minting technology, remarkable mistakes can still happen. Number 3, 1915 Australian half penny. The 1915 Australian half penny is a coin that sits high on the list of key pre-decimal rarities, prized for its age, scarcity, and connection to a world at war. By 1915, Australia was deeply engaged in the First World War, and resources, including coinage, were stretched thin. The halfpenny was an important denomination for everyday transactions, yet mintages were modest, and survival rates in high grades were extremely low. Struck in bronze, weighing 5.67 grams and measuring 25.5 millimeters in diameter, the coin carries the same bold, 1/2 penny, within a beaded circle design on the reverse, with Commonwealth of Australia around the edges. The obverse depicts King George V, designed by Sir Bertram McKennell, with the monarch facing left, wearing his crown and robes of state. While the standard 1915 halfpenny is scarce enough, the real rarity lies in the 1915 H issue. Struck at the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, England, bearing a small H mint mark below the date. Very few of these coins were minted, and they were shipped to Australia to bolster circulating supplies. The result today is a coin that is extremely difficult to locate, especially in higher grades. Circulated examples, when found, are often heavily worn, with the king's features faint and the lettering softened. For collectors, securing even a modestly graded piece is an accomplishment. Market values reflect its scarcity. A well-circulated 1915 H half penny may sell for 300 to 600 Australian dollars, while higher grade examples push into the thousands. In uncirculated condition, this coin can reach staggering levels, often exceeding 28,000 Australian dollars at auction, with top quality pieces bringing even more. The 1915 halfpenny remains one of the most important keys to the halfpenny series, a true treasure for serious collectors of Australian copper coinage. Number 2, 1930 Australian 1 penny. The 1930 penny is the undisputed king of Australian numismatics, a coin whose story has transcended the collecting world to become part of national folklore. Struck during the depths of the Great Depression, this penny was never intended for mass release. Records suggest it was produced in extremely small numbers, likely as trial strikes, with only a few entering circulation. Over time, it became clear that the 1930 penny was not only rare but one of the greatest rarities in the Commonwealth. Its design is the same as other pennies of the era. The reverse carries the classic 1 penny, within a beaded circle with Commonwealth of Australia around, while the obverse features King George V by Bertram McKennell. But what sets it apart is not the design, it is the near mythical scarcity. Estimates today suggest that fewer than 500 genuine examples survive, making it one of the rarest 20th century circulation coins in the world. For decades, Australians have dreamt of finding one in their change, with stories of lucky discoveries still surfacing well into the 20th century. The coin's value has soared in recent decades. In circulated condition, even a heavily worn 1930 penny sells for 20,000 to 30,000 Australian dollars. Mid-grade coins trade in the $0.4 to $0.6 million range, while high-grade examples command record-breaking prices. In fact, a superbly preserved specimen sold at auction for more than 1 million Australian dollars, making it one of the most valuable Australian coins ever sold. The 1930 penny is not just a coin, it is a symbol of rarity, survival, and the passion of collecting. Owning one represents the ultimate achievement for Australian numismatists. Number 1. 1966 Australian 50-cent coin. At number 1, we arrive at one of the most iconic and fascinating coins in Australian history. The 1966 round silver, 50 cent. When decimal currency was introduced on February 14, 1966, the Royal Australian Mint produced a brand new 50-cent coin, struck in 80% silver and weighing 13.28 grams. Designed by Stuart Devlin, the reverse carried the elegant Australian coat of arms, while the obverse bore Arnold Machine's youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. With its generous silver content and shiny new appearance, the coin was an immediate standout. However, a major problem soon emerged. The round 50 cent was nearly identical in size and weight to the 20-cent coin, leading to confusion in shops, banks, and public use. To make matters worse for circulation, the rising price of silver quickly meant that the intrinsic metal value of the coin exceeded its face value, encouraging hoarding and withdrawal from circulation. The result was that the round silver 50 cent lasted less than a year before being replaced by the now familiar dodecagonal 12-sided copper nickel 50-cent coin later in 1969. This short-lived production created one of the most collectible modern Australian coins. Millions were minted in 1966, but vast numbers were melted for their silver content. Today, surviving coins are treasured by collectors, not only for their rarity and circulation, but also for their intrinsic silver value. In circulated condition, the 1966 round 50 cent trades close to its silver bullion price, typically around 150 to 200 Australian dollars. However, in uncirculated condition, the numismatic premium rises significantly, with top quality examples selling for 8,000 to 12,000 Australian dollars. Proof versions are even more valuable, commanding several $100s. The 1966 round silver 50 cent is legendary because it marks both the beginning of decimal currency and one of the greatest minting blunders in Australian history. It remains a coin that every collector wants in their set. A perfect number one for any countdown of Australia's most remarkable coins. That wraps up our countdown of top 15 Australia's most valuable coins. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more rare coin stories.